Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist with Couch Commentary. When I do Couch Commentary, I talk about something that's going on in the culture from a psychological perspective. And today, what I want to talk about is the new documentary on Netflix. It's a documentary film about the singer Selena. Selena Quintanilla, who came from Texas, and she was also known as the queen of Tejano music. I loved this documentary. Actually, I have to go back and say I loved most of it until the very end of the documentary, which starts focusing, of course, on her death, the murder by the woman who started her fan club. I want to share just a few thoughts that struck me psychologically when I watched this documentary. First of all, I think it would be impossible to watch all the footage there is of Selena and just not feel like you fall in love with her, not feel this sort of warmth in your heart as you watch her. This was someone who seemed to have so much charisma. And anybody who knows anything about this singer, Selena, knows that people who are her fans, people who love Selena, they love Selena. I know a lot of people in Los Angeles, where I live, who are enormous fans and know almost everything there is to know about her, know every single song. And that's because this young woman, who was only 23 when she died, she engendered this feeling of intense love and passion, and I think even loyalty in her fan base. What I thought about when I was watching her is what people often talk about, where someone has that kind of star quality. Some people who are naysayers or critical may say, oh, that's not true. It's just all the hair on somebody that makes them look so great, or the makeup, or maybe the body that they have. No, I don't think that's the case. When you see somebody like Selena, I really sensed as a viewer somebody who really you could see their heart and soul sort of pour through their eyes. You could really sense such a kindness, a goodness, an energy, a quality that she had that was really special. And it sounds to me like, having watched this documentary, those who knew her felt that so deeply. One of the things that struck me is it's got to be strange for those who know her well, those family members, her husband, all those individuals who were in her inner circle. There was so much footage. This family did such a great job of capturing so many videos on the family tour bus, over a period of many years. And on the one hand, I would just imagine that's so heartwarming to have that, to have those. And yet, on the other hand, maybe bittersweet in that there is so much footage and they're all reminders of just how lovable and adorable this woman was, and how many reasons there are to miss her. So that just struck me, how many hours, how many, really probably hundreds of hours of footage I imagine this family might have. Another thing that struck me psychologically on the bus was there were a couple of times when she seemed to have a family member filming her, and at one point she just said, please, no more cameras. I don't want to be on camera anymore. And I really got the sense in that moment, you can imagine kind of what it must feel like to be a young person and have so many eyes on you all the time, to feel a certain level of pressure to always be on and always sort of light up every room that you go into. Even though it's natural in some ways to do that, I do think psychologically a lot of these young stars do feel a pressure. This was somebody, it was so evident in this documentary. It did such a good job of showing what a hard worker she was. And she was, when she was on stage, she was so active. She moved every part of her body. Her heart and soul was completely in it. And yet, for anyone who is a performer like that, although they know how happy it makes others, how much others want that from them, there has to be a part of every performer like that who sometimes feels like, I just want to be a regular person. I just want to be normal. I think that that moment where she was really kind of like trying to turn away from the cameras on her family bus really kind of showed that. Another takeaway that I got from this is the power of a family who works together toward a common goal. This family poured all of their time and energy, not just into the career for Selena. And actually, she was so humble. And I think that was probably one of her most beautiful traits, although I, of course, never knew her myself, was this humility. Often in interviews, she would say, "It's not just me. I'm a member of the band. I want the whole band to be acknowledged and respected." It was really a we thing for her, not just a me thing. And that just shone through so clearly. But this family, they didn't just work together, they socialized together. And you could also see how much fun they had. You could see when they talked about each other, the love that they felt for each other. And a lot of times I really attribute a lot of that feel good feeling among the entire family and the siblings to really trickle down from the parents. That a lot of times when you see that, I believe what you can tell is there were parents who were involved to set that tone, to model that kind of love, to really be cheerleaders for the whole group and want the siblings to be cheerleaders for each other too. This was not a family that you could see a lot of competitiveness between different individuals. And instead, what you saw was just support, goodwill for each other, for Selena, but not just for her, for everyone. I highly recommend this documentary. I think you'll enjoy it. Yes, it is incredibly upsetting, the ending of the documentary, which highlights her murder. To think that this young woman worked so hard her entire life to start developing a real success. And really, when you see her at the Houston Astrodome, you get a sense of not only how huge she was then, but actually, in some ways, she was just beginning. So to see this life cut short, it's heartbreaking. But it's also heartwarming to see who this young woman was for the life that she did live and also her legacy. I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist.